Hello, you're welcome to Broadcast Media Africa Industry Leaders Speak series. Today we have a very seasoned administrator and a powerful woman to boot that we're going to be speaking to. For those of you that have been following this series, the Industry Leaders Speak is where we actually seek out and speak to, have a chat with key industry leaders within the broadcasting and media sectors across the continent. I am particularly delighted to have our speaker today, the person we will be talking to, Zukiswa Potye. Reason is because we've been doing this now for a series of periods, and this is the first time I'm actually going to be speaking to a woman leader in our industry, and that makes me really excited to do this. And I hope that by the end of this conversation, this chat with Ms. Potye, you will enjoy it too. And before I introduce her, I would just like to say that this will be made available on the usual channels for Broadcast Media Africa. For those of you that are going to be watching this for the first time, this is from the Broadcast Media Africa platform, and I'm sure you will enjoy this so much that you want to follow us and contribute and participate in consequent programs that we're going to be doing. Now, without much ado, let me introduce the lady of the day. Her name is Zukiswa Potye. Zukiswa is the Chief Executive Officer of the Media Development and Diversity Agency of South Africa. So in short, MDDA South Africa. Now I'm going to give her the chance to introduce herself properly, because I always believe introduction is better done by the person that's been introduced, because they will be able to say what they want to say about themselves. But I can say this much. Zukiswa is a seasoned administrator. She is worked across many sectors within the South African space, and she's got a vast amount of experience as an administrator, both all across the sector, both in the media sector, in the infrastructure sector, and I hear that she did a stint as a lawyer in the legal space as well. She will tell us a lot more about it. And without much ado, Zukiswa, you're welcome.
Thank you very much, and thank you for having me. No, I don't think I've got such a big introduction. Hey? I want to believe that I'm a simple rural girl, really, from the Eastern Cape in South Africa. But I was born in the Eastern Cape in a very small village called Tofimvaba. And I came up to Gauteng in 1996 to look for greener pastures. And you are correct to say that I've worked across a lot of industries. I think I'm in my 9th organization. Wow. And I think what has kept me going was when I interacted with project management, and we established a unit in project management back in the day, I think in 1999, 2000, in an organization that was called National Electricity Regulator. It was a parastatal. And from then I went and worked at Blue IQ, which was an implementing program arm for the Gauteng province, the entity that created the Gautrain and other mega infrastructure projects. And after that, I had a short stint as a corporate affairs coordinator at Transnet, but then I came back to government and I spent at the Department of Government Communications, the GCIS. I spent the last 10 years there before I came to the MDDA. And ironically, the MDDA was established by the GCIS. So I am in the baby of the mother, where I spent 10 years. Yes. So we were established in 2002 in terms of the MDDA Act. And we were established solely to ensure that previously disadvantaged groups have got access, but manage, own, and control the media. And why was it done? It was done because we were trying to redress the legacy of the apartheid, where news were in English and Afrikaans, and marginalized population was not receiving news in languages that they speak and understand. People in rural areas were not getting information about government, they were not getting content. And so then the government sat down with civil society even before the democracy, and said there's a need to establish an organization that is going to look at putting the media at the hands of Black people, if you want me to be blunt, because we're talking, and when we fund these institutions, so what we do is we fund startups. We provide funding to startups, and if you're a startup, we will give you the infrastructure, which is the broadcast studios. We will then pay for your stipends, because we believe in creating jobs, and we know that community media is community media by community media. So there's a high number of voluntarism that happens in community media. So we nurture that raw talent that comes as they come as in interns into the stations, and they get trained. Most of them are still students at technicons, at universities, but we nurture that talent. And what we've noticed is that once they feel ready, they then get taken, or they're able to move to either the public broadcaster of South Africa or other commercial broadcasters. And we are happy, we're not bitter about that, because we see ourselves as the training ground. South Africa has got a tire in media in terms of the landscape. So there's the public broadcaster, there's the commercial broadcasters, and print, in fact. But there's also the community media, which we call ourselves the third tier. And so many people think that the third tier is sometimes not, it's weak, it's not organized, it's not professional, and all those things. So those are the things that when we are in platforms like this, we get asked, compelling for the investors. So those are the things that we do. We provide funding for the startups, but also once we have invested in you, we guard you jealously in terms of ensuring that sustainability is there. As a matter of fact, we are undergoing a sustainability research, which should culminate into a sustainability model. We started in 2020 with this, where we consulted widely. We actually invited UNESCO to come and talk to us about sustainability or viability of the community media. They made a presentation. Professor Guy Becker made a presentation, and they're supporting us on this along the way.
Awesome. Awesome. Listen, I've always looked at MDDA, and I've always thought you guys are doing great amount of work. But hearing you say what you're doing, and to our audiences, is going to be illuminating. It has to be. It has to reveal a lot of stuff that people don't know before. And that's why we have these conversations, to talk to people like yourself, to shed light more as to what you guys are actually doing. And I'm glad you've laid it out to say, here is what we do, here's what we do, here's what we do. But let me clarify for those people that aren't South African, because Broadcast Media Africa, we have subscribers and members that are pan-African all over Africa. But as you know, and as you will agree with me, and I'm sure a lot of our audience and people that are watching, that's going to watch this, will agree as well, South Africa, within the African space, in a number of ways, in a large number of ways, actually set the pace. You have a lot of structures that a lot of African countries want to look up to and say, okay, we want to do this. Because as far as I know, Ms. Potye, and I've been in this industry for almost 25 years doing this kind of stuff. There is I can count in the fingers of one hand the jurisdiction that actually have something similar to MDDA. Which is basically to develop media and diversity within the media space. While I was preparing, I was speaking to one of my colleagues here in London, and they asked me, oh, isn't MDDA a regulator? So MDDA is not a regulator at all.
MDDA is certainly not a regulator. There is a regulator. It's called an Independent Communication Association of South Africa, something like that. It's ICASA, in short. ICASA, yes. So once you say in a village or in a rural area, or because that's how we define the community media. You must be either geographic, so it would be your location geographically, or it would be an interest group, right? So someone must then come with an idea, but you must mobilize your community. If you're looking to establish a community radio station, a community TV, or community newspaper, because we don't take people that say it's mine. We want it to belong to the community. So those are the ones that we fund. So what happens is you then have got, and in order for us to be able to fund you, you must be an NPO. So you must be non-profit generating. There's a section of our mandate which looks after the independent publishers, but that's print, and you know the regulations of print are not as stringent. In fact, it's not even regulated. They're not as stringent as the regulations on the broadcast side. So then once you've got the NPO and it's in the running operational for 2 years, you are able then to apply for a broadcast license, which comes with so many conditions for you to adhere. Once you've managed to get that, then you are able to come to the MDDA and say, look, I am establishing a radio station or a television. It must be community, non-profit generating, and it must really be having a backup of the community, because once we have invested in you, we would like to leave you with the community. So your business community, your other partners, the volunteers, and just people that are bringing you content, localized content. But when we then go and install the studio and leave you with all this infrastructure, which is very beautiful, we open it, we hand it over to the community and the station manager and the management and the board. So this, we want them to be run more like financial entities, because what we've noticed is that over time, for instance, currently South Africa has got more than 280 licensed community broadcasters, right? On air, around 220, 230 would be on air. And those that are not air, it would be one thing or the other. It may be the regulator that has switched them off, or they've lost the license, or it may be that they're owing the signal distributor, which is a Centec in South Africa. Yeah. So we've got, so we're contending with so many things that are takers of our money. What do we do with the debt of Centec, and what do we do when ICASA also takes away a license for whatever reasons?
Well, I suppose these are the dynamics that you have to play with. So answer me this. 2 quick questions. Does it mean that it has to be community focused? I mean, this invariably will be a yes or no questions because I want to move to other aspects of our conversations, and there's a lot I still need to talk to you about. Does it mean that it has to be community focused for you to be investing, or for it to be interesting to you and your organization?
Certainly. Especially in the broadcast side. The broadcast side is very regulated. It must be non-profit. It must just be non-profit. Okay. But in the print side, we do fund digital print, and we have found a lot of independent publishers, people that generate for themselves. You find that the newspaper is owned by one person or 2 people, but they must have also establishments that they work in, and they must have proper staff and structures and business plans and financial focus to do that. We do fund those ones as well. All
right, got that, Zukiswa. Now, the second thing is, maybe this is, I don't know if it's for public information, or if it's trade secret, you have to guard it jealously. How much, well, in your currency, we'll figure it out in dollars and announce it. How much do you have under your funding parameters at the minute, in terms of the amount of money that MDDA can work with to fund the activities outside? How much?
It's actually a little, to be honest. So let me talk about our funding model first.
Funding model. Yeah.
Yes, our funding model is that government will give us a grant, but most of that grant, because it has not been growing at a pace at which one would want. In fact, government as it is now is cutting down on the grants that they're giving entities and departments. So the grant from government constitutes about 30% of our total revenue, right? So where does the bulk of our funding comes from? It comes from the commercial broadcasters. Commercial broadcasters, yes. Commercial broadcasters are the major funders of the community media in South Africa.
Right.
And it's because there is a law of universal access levy where they are compelled to pay 0.2% of their annual revenue to that fund. And so we persuaded a lot of them. They can pay to ICASA, but they can pay to us. But I think what helps us is that we've got the largest funder, MultiChoice, it just covers a lot of the money that we use at the MDDA. So the other means we can find money, the Act says it makes provision for us to get money from foreign donors. It also makes a provision for us to get money that is legally accrued. So those are the two areas that next week on the 11th we're gonna be launching a fundraising strategy, right? We meant the sustainability model that we are trying to build, because that sustainability model, countrywide research that's taking a year. But what we're hoping for it to do for us is to tell us what is happening in these geographical areas, what is happening in these areas where these entities that we develop and build and sustain, and what is the root cause for them not to be sustainable. That's so we're trying to delve deeper into the causes for lack of sustainability on the projects that we are funding, because we funded around 170, and I'm saying we've got about 280. And the reason for that is because people come back 2 times, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, right? And remember, I've already said that we're very jealous about leaving a person that we've already invested millions in. And then we say 15 years down the line, you know what? You are on your own, because then they simply just fold and close down. And that alone then will go against the principles of our constitution that says and guarantees access to freedom, access to information and to freedom of expression and the freedom of press. And that is the reason why we're saying we bias towards those that will broadcast, print, and publish in indigenous languages. So that is our core focus. It must be in indigenous languages. And we're very proud as the MDDA to say, to date, we've got all the 11 languages across the country in terms of the community media. So we've got that. What we now are fighting to do is to ensure that these entities are not heavily reliant on the little money that we have, in so much as that we're not able to reach other areas. So we're going to be stuck with this 160, 170 when the station numbers is going up to 300, because we don't want to drop these ones, because if we drop the ones that we've already invested in, they may collapse.
See, that's what I was just thinking about, Zukiswa. I was thinking about it as you were talking, and I was saying, hang on a minute, you spent so much money on Benjamin to set up this community radio or TV station, as it were, because I've applied to you, you've seen that I have great potential, and you set me up, you start me up, right? And then what? Community media is not very commercial. No. And then I am struggling to get money in to stay afloat. That means perpetually you stuck with funding me to breastfeed me until in perpetuity. How do you break that? What is the strategy in place to make sure that doesn't, you don't become perpetual funder of these guys, like you said? What are you guys doing?
So it is this what's going to help, and we're hoping, and it's uncharted waters. We thought we're going to test this. We brought on UNESCO to talk to them. They gave us indicators for viability. And so we've got a sustainability model that sits on 6 pillars. And those 6 pillars are really the issues that we're grappling with: audience management, digitization or digital technology, signal distribution, premium content. But we've got an idea of, if we can deal with these 6 pillars in terms of sustainability and then fund them through the funding strategy, because it is no use having a sustainability model that will not be resourced.
That would not work.
So we're working to try and resource the funding model. Model is on 6 pillars. Let me see if I can show you. And this funding model for us is really the beginning to say.
You want to share the screen, or?
I would like to share the screen.
Right.
Let me see.
You have the permission.
The rights.
Yes, please, ma'am.
Okay, let me just do this. Share screen. It's this one. Can you see it?
Right. There we go. Yes.
Just wanted it to be a full slide. There you go. So you see, we've got these 6 pillars. The first one is technology, digital innovation, and signal distribution. We're struggling with the signal distribution because the cost of distribution through this another entity, a sister entity of ours called Centec, is expensive. It is expensive, even though it's already, I think, discounted by 40 to 60% for the community radio stations. But because they're not generating as much, and I know that there's another 15 that they want to switch in these days. And I said, let's sit down and talk. So if we can sort the signal distribution, and for us, we're now going, we're flexible enough to say, if you want to go and you qualify, and naturally, depending on your geographic location, you qualify for self-provision. So you can self-transmit. We'll buy you a transmitter, and then we will develop skills in the rural development, in the rural areas, but we know that if we bought one transmitter now, in the next 20 years or so, it may not give problems, unless it's issues of lightning and those things. But we're trying to win off most of our projects from being dependent on a monthly subscription by Centec, because they accumulate debts. It's difficult for us to assist them. They get switched off, and then it becomes a national disaster, and then the minister must intervene. And so we're wanting bit by bit to move the community broadcasters away from having to pay on a monthly basis and buy them. I mean, you can buy a transmitter for 150,000. If it's 200 and something, it's huge. It's very big, and it will last you. Those that are self-providing will tell you that it lasts. The other issue is we should be seen as doing something about technology and digital innovation. So we've spoken with the telecommunications companies, your MTNs, your Vodacoms in South Africa, to say, how can we work together? Facebook South Africa, how can we work together to ensure that we're able to be available, even if these entities are in rural areas, but that they are available digital or on digital platforms. And we know the cost of data in South Africa, that it is high. That is the reason why we would like to partner with the telecommunications to say, can you zero rate our URLs, our apps, and so forth. So there's those discussions going on. Pillar number 2 is corporate governance and compliance. That is at the core of any business. If your corporate governance is not in order, then you're going to see a lot of things not going well. Compliance means you must be compliant with SARS, with tax laws, with labor laws. You must run this entity as if it's a money-making entity. The only difference is that the money gets plowed back to the community. It gets plowed back. So these are the pillars, as you can see them. Content generation, I cannot emphasize it more. It's very important. People tell us, you know what, you guys play music the whole day, and we want to prove to them that we can have content. We do have content. We just want to package it nicely. In fact, my idea is that our content should also go up North Africa, West Africa, in the languages those countries speak, in French, in Swahili, and so forth. Why can't we do that? Why can't we package our content for other countries and also transport or get information and news from other countries? I would like to do that. Audience measurement is very important when you want to buy media and they begin to ask you about your rate cards and they begin to ask you how many, what is your audience and so forth. So there is no tool in South Africa that is yet for community media yet. There is broadcast research broadcast council, yes. So we have it, but it is more focused on commercial and public broadcaster, and it's because they pay for it, right? They pay for it. So we are now saying through this sustainability model, do we want to join hands and forces with them and pay a premium, or do we want to look for an alternative for the community sector, something cost effective, and that is gonna be very focused on the community media? And I think transformation of the print media goes without saying. The South Africa still has got the Big Four, for instance. It's still dominated, very wide, and so forth. So our department is busy with that pillar of transformation of the print media. But in terms of the airwaves, I think we're happy that we've actually opened the airwaves to a lot of South Africans. And now my parents are in Tofimvaba somewhere. My father is 87, but he can listen to a community radio of his choice and in the languages that he wants to listen to, whether he wants Zulu, Xhosa, English, those are available. And so that is the work that we do. You said, how do we win these ones off? And my team, that's the term that my team says. My team is saying, and we're banking all our $1 million on the sustainability model. We don't want to be disappointed. In fact, Professor Guy Becker said when we started this road in 2020, and when we came to present to our consultative conference, he said, Zukiswa, if you, South Africa, get this right, I sit on a 39-member state, and we've been asked at UNESCO to actually develop a similar model, but not naturally at that global level. And he said, if you get it right, we'll take yours and we can expand on it. And yes, so can you see, it's very important for us to get it right, no matter what right is.
Well, Zukiswa, I have to press you and I have to ask again. Yes. So, let's bring it down to the basic level that people like myself will understand. I get this. I get what's on the screen. I think it's powerful. I think it's compelling. And I think a lot of thoughts and structure has gone into it. And I think you might have people knocking on your door from other countries that will be watching this video to say, can you help us? But break it down for me. So again, Benjamin Community Media, I got this funding from you, and then 2 years down the line, I'm struggling. And I'm thinking, I might go to the wall, I might go basically just close down. And you're thinking, no, you can't close down because you serve that community, so we keep funding you. Your words, how do you win me off? Are you going to now come back and put me through this pillar? Because you already have your funding. How do you get me into a place? What do you do to assist me over and above just giving me money every year? And then I go and buy myself a Potye and then come back to you next year. I buy myself another house, come back to you next year. How do you actually make sure that it doesn't become a recurrent drain on your resources? So as you said, you can focus on developing new community media or media infrastructure. How do you win off the existing one that are having financial issues and require constant attention from the mama?
Yeah, so I was making an analogy of this model, that what would like the findings to give us is, if you use the robot analogy, is to say these ones are in dire straits, right? Because of where they are or for whatever the reason. And these ones, and this sustainability model research goes beyond our beneficiaries. It must look at the sector entirely, so that when we look for tools, resources, skills, and support, we're able to look at the sector broadly. So then we say, if we go back to the robot analogy, these ones are industrial, they are red, right? What are the issues that these ones are grappling with that make them not to succeed? And so we'll have those packaged. Then in the middle, and I'm hoping that the middle will be the bigger one, the amber group, right? The amber group. The amber group can easily go to green, can easily go back to red. But then we look at these three pillars to say, you know what? Because at the moment, even those that are affording sometimes and a lot of times come back and you find yourself funding them. But we would like to know the needs. My team says, we would like CEO to know the needs of each station, weekly, monthly, quarterly, annually. What makes them tick? What makes them survive? So what are their other sources of income, right? And then so the red will be given certain tools and techniques and support to move into the middle group. Whilst we're pushing the middle group to go to green. The green group would be a group that says, you know what, MDDA, I would like to run a program on gender-based violence. And so it will be more campaign driven. But at that point, the green is able to sustain their salaries, sustain their water and lights, their rentals, and all these other overheads. Because when we give you money, what we do is we pay for salaries, we pay for stipends, we pay for rent, we pay for insurance, we pay for bank charges, we give you studios, we give you mics, we give you everything, we take over. And the risk with that, Benjamin, is that your contract, a grant in aid contract, is 12 months. And I normally say to my teams to push them, I need you to tell me after the 13th month, after the 12th month, on the 13th month and on the 14th month, what must that project look like? Or where must it go for funding? Do we, when we give them money, do we then look at what is the trajectory once we've given them this kind of support? But what we've seen is they're coming back because there's no other platform. We were established mainly to actually ensure that there is community media, community broadcasters, newspapers, and television in South Africa.
Awesome. I think you're doing great work. You're doing real great work. And I really like the idea of constant monitoring. Yeah. And I mean, I suppose it begs the question that after all this work, if a station is still not viable, there's nothing you can do about it. You just got to let them go so you can focus on the other stuff. So I got to get going now. I understand that you currently have a partnership with an organization called Brand South Africa. And I was looking at it, I'm like, okay, so what's behind that? What's the story around that, Zukiswa?
No, in fact, Brand South Africa is small. It's a sister entity. We're in the same, we've got the same mother. So what we do is when you belong to the same mother, you children, and you assist yourself, you assist one another. Okay, we actually have got more partnerships with institutions like the CEDA. CEDA is more into training, and it's got a national footprint.
The Swedish Development Agency, right?
It's not Swedish though.
It's not Swedish.
It's SEDA. It's SEDA.
Oh, so we've got an not SIDA.
Yeah. Oh, okay. We've got an MOA with them on training our beneficiaries across the country. So they would call and say through our partnership and MOA and say, we're running a 12 months coaching program, Women in Leadership. Please avail your entities and managers and whoever you want them to benefit here. And
so you are funding, you guys are funding that training program run by CEDA, basically. Or how does that partnership work?
No, so CEDA will make use of its own resources. What we'll do is we will just travel and provide food and accommodation for our beneficiaries. Let me give an example. The Open Source Foundation, right, in Cape Town, it normally assists us with elections reporting. What they've got the trainers, they've got the training program. We just put our people together where they can be trained across the country, and we give them food and accommodation and transport. That's where we spend. So we're looking for partnerships like that, because because for us, even if you have not given us physical cash, by training our people and allowing us not to pay for that program,
you develop capacity.
That's money. It's money, because
it's
if you had 1 million,
great value.
it's great value. So Brand South Africa is indeed, it's very important, because it is about branding the country domestically, but also abroad. And it is a sister entity, as I'm saying.
Awesome.
We support one another's campaigns.
I'm happy you mentioned the partnership, because that's where I was leading to with the Brand South Africa engagement. And you mentioned that you are currently in partnership with a variety of organizations, and that you're also keen to seek out partnerships. Now, 2 questions on that. Because you're a government sort of agency organization that's owned by the South African government, are you limited to the partnerships being local, i.e. South Africa, or are you also interested, would you be interested in reaching out across the world to seek for partnership in other countries or in other climes, as they say?
Oh yes, certainly. Remember when we talked about the budget, I said in terms of our act, it's the government of South Africa gives us 30%, about 33% of a grant, and a lot of money comes from the commercial broadcasters. But then there's 2 areas that we need to explore through this fundraising process that we're embarking on from next week. It is foreign donations, and there's another item that says any money that is legally accrued. So again, it's donations for as long as they're legally accrued. So the foreign donations suggest that we will be able to go abroad. So yes, I've spoken to my minister. He says he's happy to be the face of the fundraising strategy and campaign, and we are going to be taking him overseas. Luckily, we know it's going to spend a lot of money, will be virtual.
Listen, this is it. If I wanted to talk to you before 2020, in the 1990s, we have to travel to South Africa, or you come to London, we sit in a big studio and we sit next to each other. But
not
now,
anymore.
Exactly. The world is been made to shrink together, and that's awesome. So now we have a flavor of how MDDA is working, how you guys are doing great stuff. And what is it that you guys are looking to achieve going forward in the future? Now, let me zoom into the lady Zukiswa Potye, vis-a-vis CEO of MDDA. Personally, in terms of, okay, Benjamin, this will make me happy. In the next 3 to 5 years, whether you are still in there or you've gone to greater stuff, what will be the legacy that you will want to be remembered by in that organization that you are currently influencing?
Sustainability of the sector.
Awesome. Awesome. Yeah. That's
good. For me, that's my mantra. That's what I think about every day. I've been working this thing since 2020, where we brought the sector together. First digital conference, we had about 200 people there. My minister delivering a keynote address where we actually invited UNESCO to say, these are the issues that I believe I got into this sector, with these issues being repeated over and over in the summits, the colloquiums, whatever you want to call it, stakeholder engagements. What can we now do? Because I was tired of lip service. Every time we had a new minister, we went into a colloquium, the other one called it a summit, the other one's called it a stakeholder engagement, but we talked about the same thing. I then took all those reports and I said, but we know what the challenges are. What can we do with the challenges? So for me, the first thing I did when I joined the organization, which will also count as my legacy, Benjamin, is when I got to the organization, it was 15 years old, but there was no grant funding policy. And in 8 months, I was able to put together a policy that was benchmarked with 10 institutions in South Africa, grant funding, including private sector, and some parastatals. But I then found that, no, man, there is no funding agency that does not have a funding policy. So that is in place. It's been in place. It was approved in 2019 in July by the board, and we've just reviewed it. So there was never that policy, and I put the policy in place. And the next thing that I then said, because I needed to understand what the criteria is and to narrow it down, because the organization had been using the act and the regulations, which I think are broad in terms of application. So I needed to narrow and streamline everything. And the other issue that we needed to deal with, you would know, Benjamin, if you're in an organization that deals with grants is giving free moolah, free money.
Exactly.
You've got
we all want grants.
I'm telling you, you've got to have your ducks in the row in terms of monitoring where the money is going. You've got to have your ducks in the row in ensuring that your legal knows what it's doing in terms of chasing those that are breaching the contract and so forth. And your monitoring and evaluation is on top of its game, ensuring that the people are using money in the way that it was intended for in the contracts. Yeah. Yes. Yes. So those are the things that for me then we achieved through that policy, and just to make the system transparent. And the other thing that we've done is through this event next week, we've got annual funders breakfast, where we then take through the supporters and our funders through a 2-hour program to explain what we used their money for the previous financial year, but also to say how our audit outcomes are. Luckily, in the past 2 financial years, we've gotten 2 clean audits concurrently, and then we then say, this is where we want to take the organization. Those that are able to give us more support will appreciate it, because the demand and the supply do not meet. No. We're dealing with that all the time. Yeah. Let me give you an example. We open annually for a call for application, right? Mm-hmm. And we go out the country to publicize it. I go on to maybe 100 and something radio stations to announce it, so that people know. And we've got on our website how you apply in different languages. You know, we've got videos taking people, but we want to be on the ground because we are developmental. If a person in a rural area says, I don't know how to fill this form, we say, come sit down, let's do it together. Let us. So that's the kind of things that we want to do, not to be sitting in Gauteng and our target beneficiaries and audience are in the rural areas. We must be there with them. We must be there with them. I've also initiated a program, Benjamin, of taking an audit of all the infrastructure that has been installed in these community broadcasters. Back then, like in 2002, 2003, 2004, up to now, where are they? But more so, what is the condition? And you know why? What I want to do with that information, I would like us to have a maintenance plan, because what happens is a studio is a furniture, right? Yeah. And it's durable, it lasts. So you may have problems with your mixer and mics and other things, the technical stuff, but the furniture remains, right? So what happens now, if a person's if a studio's mic is broken, the guys apply for a studio. The mic is broken, we must replace the studio. It's not cost effective. It's not cost effective. So I would like to know at a high level where the studios are, what the condition is, which ones need maintenance, so that we are proactive in fixing them and maintaining them, so that you don't go when it's dilapidated, it's like a dinosaur, it can't work, you must replace it. Those that we've just in the past 10 years, because in the past 10 years, I believe we've been installing digital radio studios. Can we maintain them? Can we then give money to maintain them? Can we also make sure that these radio stations, the management and the board is able to fundraise and is able to market itself and is able to barter, they must do the bartering system with the Masngcwabane, the funeral societies that are in the villages and all those things. So they must partner with them. They can give them airtime and then they can get something from them. So that's what we are encouraging. Oh,
this is fantastic work. I got to ask you though, because when you say you didn't even think about it. Sustainability has to be Zukiswa's legacy. And that's very adorable, that's very admirable. I mean, I think if you can do it, and I don't have any reason to believe that a lady that's as powerful and driven like you can do it. My question now is, in that journey, Zukiswa, where are you at? Are you at the middle of it? Do you think, in the next 5 years, you will have established these sustainability parameters so that if you move on or if somebody else comes or if something happens, it's never, because one of the problems we have in Africa is we set up things, there is no sustainability to it, and it disappears when the person that brings it in goes.
I agree.
Are you making sure that that foundation is there for a long time, if not forever?
Yes, certainly. Remember, in an organization, Benjamin, you're not alone.
No.
You may be the visionary, but you've got hands in terms of the executive management and staff. So it's very important for the staff at the MDDA to understand. So they were at the conference, they're part of the research, the executive is there, is driving this thing, so that even when I leave, that leaves and they're able to, then I leave a foundation. Let's say I leave next year. If it's next year, then we would have launched this thing in January. We're turning 20 in January next year. We're turning 20. So when we turn 20, we're gonna launch this thing. But already next week, we're launching the fundraising strategy, because then the strategy, the fundraising must continue, so that once the research and the sustainability model is together, we're then able to say, with these resources, these are the pillars that we're funding. Research is very important. Skills development and capacity building is very important. We need to professionalize that space. We need to nurture the talent. So we're not only looking for money for equipment, we're looking for partners, learning institutions, people that can say, you know what, I train, bring your people, I train, like CEDA, like the SETA, we also have got a partnership with them, and anyone who can come in good faith and say, I am interested in this sector and I'm willing to help.
Awesome. I think that those are great stuff. Zukiswa, let me ask you this. So, what is it that motivates this woman? What is it that makes because I've been listening to you now for upward of almost 45 minutes, and I'm thinking to myself, you sound so energized, so so up for it. Where do you get your motivation from, ma'am?
I think, I don't know, to be honest. I'm just like this every day. I think when you do something you like
passion,
and you want, yes, the passion drives me, and the interest, and the thing is, I'm new in this sector, so I'm learning a lot. Imagine 170 radio stations. Many call me in a day. See all this, see all that, see all this, my transmitter that, no, my disbursement is I've not been paid, the contract is gonna end, this and this. So interact with these people. It gets me so excited. I'm never tired to answer them. I'm never tired to answer them. But I think what drives me is the fact that access to information, and being a rural girl, access to information for me is critical, because information is power, Benjamin.
Yes.
So when you can make a difference by ensuring that a certain community has got a mouthpiece through a radio station or a newspaper or a magazine or a television, my day is made.
Your day is made. Awesome. My day is made. Fantastic. So, I mean, that is great. Now, with regards to yourself, I want to ask you something slightly personal, which is basically I mean, you've told us where you're coming from, and I think if I was counting, you've mentioned that you are a rural girl, or a rural lady. I would say I don't have the qualification to refer to you as a rural girl. I'll call you a rural. I use the word lady.
Okay.
You can call yourself. Anyway,
a rural girl.
so yeah, I can't. I will be in trouble if I did that. So, question is, what is it that you want to tell our audience, both in South Africa and externally, about yourself? And as a leader, there's a qualifying question to it. As a leader in the industry, in the media industry, what is it that you wish that people will know about the vision personally that you have for the industry as a whole? So 2 questions. What is it that we don't know about you that we should know? And what is your vision, overriding vision, not just for MDDA, but for the media industry in South Africa and in Africa? I know it's a loaded question. I'm sure you will unpack it for me.
Okay. So for me, I think I've laid out my gauntlet already. I'm a very, very transparent person, very honest, very easygoing, but I'm very driven in terms of achieving the things that I want to do. You heard me talk about the fact that it would be great if amongst us in Africa share information that we can convert translate our information into Swahili, into French, and package it for those countries. And the same would happen with them. I've been on a panel as a panelist with Zimbabwe. It's called Zukiswa, Zimbabwean Community Radio Station, Association. And you know, I was so pleased that a few months after we had that, the government actually licensed 12 radio stations, I think 3 months after that event. First licensed community radio stations in Zimbabwe. And I was part of because they said, South Africa, how did you do it? How did you do it? And I talked about the will of government to partner with the communities and the civil society and other partners in making sure that this is done. So I'm very driven. And when I am focused on achieving something, I lay my eyes on it and I will not sway. And what I'll do is I will get an army of people to come and assist me in terms of that one, it's not negotiable. I will go to the telecommunications and charm them. I will go to the big 4 and charm them. I will go to, even if you're saying to me, I must go to the president and make him do things, I will do it. So that I've got the conviction in me that if I want something to happen, I will make it happen. And when you're doing it with a passion, it is easy for you to do it. It actually is easy for you to do it. What people do not know about me, including my kids, is a secret of mine that towards the end of my career, I would like to be in the United Nations fighting for the rights of women.
Whoa, there you have it. You had it here first. Awesome. Look, I see no reason why that cannot be a possibility. Not even a possibility, a reality. I see no reason why that cannot happen. I will look out for this space, and I'm sure one day it's going to be news flash on CNN, on SABC, on all the news channels. Look at that diplomat representing Africa, representing South Africa.
I would love that. That would make me happy. You know, when I did my first master's, I asked for the university to allow me to write a dissertation of my own choice, right? They had to go, you know, these professors, they had to sit in councils and decide. Ultimately, because I was very bold about motivating why I wanted a personal topic. And that topic was about barriers to education by girls in rural areas in South Africa. And you know, when I graduated, we were 9. Only I was a lady. I was the only woman. Talk about barriers to education. I know this because I have gone through it at home. We are twins. We are the first ones. We are 9 children, Benjamin. Yes. We are 9 children. I am the first one, but I've got a twin, but she's very quiet. So I'm the talkative one. So it looks like I'm the old one.
So you've been
so I've got 8 siblings.
You've been leading since you were a baby or since you were a young one, because you have to organize a family and help mama out.
Certainly, certainly.
Wow, no, listen, madam, I could talk to you for a long time. We could have this conversation.
There'll be other opportunities
for 4 years, for 4 hours, for so long, for the whole day. But we are coming to the end of the conversation because it's an hour that's been allocated. I know you're a very, very, very busy woman, so I don't want to overstay my welcome. But look, it's been revealing. The fact that what you're doing, how you are approaching it, how you are changing the paradigms of how people think about media, about diversity, about getting information to the nooks and crannies of Africa, of South Africa, and not be it Africa. I do think that the sky is the limit for yourself. But before I start wrapping up, one quick question. The sustainability report that you are publishing, you said you're going to launch it in January, right? That report. Or
certainly, yes. Yeah.
Now, I suppose my question is,
but Benjamin,
go ahead, you go.
I'm sorry. No, I was also going to say to you, we've also participated last year in a research by UNESCO on community broadcast viability. And that booklet is 99% done. I think it's being printed now. There's a South African chapter and you'll see my face in it.
Oh, awesome. Fantastic. I will look forward to that. I suppose these documents that you're creating, I suppose my question is, for the sake of our other CEOs and decision makers across Africa that might want to tap into it, are they going to be publicly available, or is it that if anybody wants to have or see, they have to reach out to you or to your people? How are you providing access to those because you've done it? I know it might have cost you some money or resources to do it, but are you making it publicly available to people that want to see it? What's the play?
Ours will be publicly available. It will be they will be available on our website in the public domain. What I don't have control over is the UNESCO one. I'm certain that they will send me, but I can share with you. And I'm not sure in which format, whether they're going to send it, because we're still working on it now. It's still digital. So am I going to get a printed one? I'm still going to wait and see. But our documents are freely available. Awesome. They belong to the public.
That's fantastic. And anytime you have it, anytime you guys release it, and suppose January is still a long way, but with the UNESCO one, anytime you have it, just reach out to me, let me have it. We'll put together a nice copy around it. We'll put it on the BMA and then we'll flush it out so people can gain from the experiences that you've managed to build. And that, I suppose, will be your contribution to the development of this sector on the continent. You will still do more. You will be required to do more, I suppose. And I'm sure you're a woman that step up to the plate. And it also will be our contribution to this area. Look, listen, Zukiswa, hopefully someday, very soon, when I turn up in your neck of the woods, I will knock on your door and say, how about a cup of tea? But before then, for those of you that have been watching, I've been speaking to Lady Zukiswa Potye. Zukiswa she's the Chief Executive Officer, the powerful Chief Executive Officer for the most important, as far as I'm concerned, the most important agency in media in Africa, which is developing the media and diversity within the media. Because, as you all know, ladies and gentlemen, the media is what controls the mind through the power of information. So if we can get hold of our media and control the information that our people get, then we are truly in charge of ourselves. And the lady there is doing a lot of work. She's talked about how she's organizing that space. She's talked about what activities they are doing. She's talked about the partnerships that they want to get into, that they're already getting into. And then she's spoken to us about herself, where she's come from, and she's come from a very, very far place in the Bundus, in the village in South Africa. But here she is today, and I'm sure she will be doing more. So thank you very much, Zukiswa. I really appreciate your time. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. We carry on. We will be speaking to our next guest very shortly. The announcement will be made on our Broadcast Media Africa platform. But for the time being, I want to say thank you and God bless.